Hello and welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us, whether you're watching live or you're catching the recording. My name is Jordan Roberts. I'm with Journey Alliance, and I will be your host for today. In just a few moments, you're going to hear from two leaders in the construction industry about how they use AI every day in their roles. Both of these panelists are participating in Journey Alliance's AI training for work. And if you're interested in that at any point during the training, you can scan that QR code in the corner and it will take you to our landing page where you can learn more about the AI training. And additionally, we would like this to be as interactive as possible. So if you have any thoughts or questions, go ahead and drop them into the comments and we'll try to incorporate them as we go. So without further ado, though, I will let my panelists here introduce themselves. So we'll start with you, Corey. Tell us about you.
So thank you very much for having me here today. My name is Corey Fisk, and I'm the founder of Construction Management Online. We're an online construction knowledge curriculum education base that helps those that are in the site wanting to move into management positions. And we help do strategic consulting for construction companies.
Awesome. Thank you. Happy to have you, Corey. Megan, how about you?
Hi, I'm Megan Spivey. I work for a company called Document Crunch, and so they focus on construction contracts. But before that, I was a contracts manager, and so I kind of moved actually into AI for my role a little bit earlier than probably before it became really wildly popular. But I personally am incorporating it not just from a product perspective, but also finding ways to incorporate it in my work. So yeah, I'm excited to be here and chat about this. I'm love it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Definitely two very interesting perspectives on it. So I'm going to go ahead and launch into our first question. Before I do that, I noticed that several more people have joined. So if you're just joining, again, we want this to be really interactive. So if you have any questions or comments, please drop them in the comments, and we will get to them as we go along. So on my first question here, I will pose this one to you, Corey. When did AI first land on your radar as something that might be relevant to your work or your role?
Well, I think that being a teacher, I was learning that my students were catching on to AI much quicker than I was. And they were using it in a way that felt very unauthentic. They were cheating. They were using it to try to get the easy way out. And it was really frustrating for me because I could see that there was a purpose for it and there's a need for it. But by using it the way that they were using it, they weren't gathering the real deep learning that comes with having to know and understand construction concepts along with the activities involved in trying to implement what you're learning into practical real world work. And so really wanting to understand AI and how it was going to be implemented in the construction industry to be able to be used for practical application for tasks that we do as a construction manager, but tasks that required our construction knowledge in order to be able to shape the results of what we received in the AI output. So I really felt and know that this is where the construction industry is going. And in order for me to be able to invite my students to use the technology properly, I needed to know how to use it myself.
Yeah, no, that's a really great perspective as well. I'm currently getting my master's too, and people using AI to kind of take the easy way out, that's a very common problem. And it's something you'll see on LinkedIn too, people talking about, or really anywhere, talking about kind of this fear of us becoming unable to think because we're leaning too much on AI. So that's definitely a really interesting perspective. And I think we'll hit on it a little bit more as we go along. But I'm going to go ahead and pose this question to you, Megan. For you, when did AI first land on your radar as something that might be relevant to your work? And I know that you work for an AI-based company, so that probably had something to do with it. But if you could just tell us about that.
Yeah, so I think though I still think my realization about the usefulness it may have been a little bit earlier, but it's still, I didn't connect the dots on my own. And it wasn't until I had a conversation, um, I was meeting with a lot of people on LinkedIn, networking, and one person I connected with was Josh Levy, who is our CEO. And he had wanted to talk because we had a lot of similar viewpoints on construction contracts. And I really just didn't see, I had had bad experiences with construction technology. It always made my work harder. And I was like, we have a huge barrier already to getting just regular software useful. So I just didn't see the use case for any technology, let alone AI. And what surprised me though was actually we were having a conversation and Josh said something to me and he was like, well, how about if a project manager could just go into their contract and ask it to draft a notice for a weather delay on the project uh, and get one out in just a few seconds. And suddenly I was like, oh my gosh, this would actually make life better and easier. And because I was trying to um, make this fractional contracts manager, somebody who could they could benefit from the experience of somebody, but on a scalable way. I was like, this is way more scalable than a person, and it's so much easier than waiting for somebody to email you back or, hey, you didn't give me all the details you needed. The source of truth was right there, and that's what these jobs were being based on. And suddenly it just absolutely clicked for me. I was like, this is like way more scalable and just so much easier to use than having a bottleneck be in a person. And that's kind of like what unlocked the use case for me. And I just think those use cases, the unlock there is so valuable, those examples.
Yeah, and it's applicable in so many different ways because it's not like a construction technology that's meant for a specific thing that's obviously designed by somebody that isn't really in the industry. They don't really know. It's not a real problem or it's just clunky or whatever. It's different because it's more in your control with AI. So I think that sentiment kind of reflects how a lot of people are feeling
Mhm.
about AI maybe in general. So that's a really good point from you.
Yeah. Thanks.
So for you, Corey, I know you kind of touched on your students, if that being a moment for you. Were there any other challenges or opportunities that pushed you into looking more at AI?
Well, I had always been using AI for the easy stuff. So the no-brainer social media content, helping me with the outlines of some of my newsletters and, giving me ideas about things that I could do to catch people's interest and understanding more about construction management online and what we provide. But when I started really understanding, and especially through the journey that I've been taking with the Journey Alliance, of understanding the layers of AI and how that makes it so much more user friendly for those of us in the construction industry, where we can actually use it at a very basic, in a very basic criteria, but then finding out that I can almost have it as my own personal assistant. And when I was able to do very close to what Megan is talking about, of asking it specific questions about things that I was trying to design or direct, or everything from master plans to roles and responsibilities of specific individuals within a company's hemisphere, it really started showing me all of the opportunities that were available there. And so, again, trying to really implement real tasks, not just, hey, Chat GPT, can you write a paragraph summary on this mini course? But
Yeah.
being able to say, hey, as a project manager, I have a really intense situation with a superintendent who's brought a change order to my attention. The change order has these 10 criteria. The contract is identifying that 4 of these are not identified or have any distinct information. How should I approach it? And then be able to just keep nailing down and on that exact same subject going, well, tell me more. Well, what if that doesn't work? What if it had rain involved? And being able to start interacting with this
Mhm.
and this entity behind the curtain,
Yeah.
really, really amazing, and opened up the real understanding of the power of this tool, and that it's not just a mindless tool that is going to keep us from learning, but understanding that it requires an entirely different set of skill sets that we're going to have to build in order to be able to properly use it. Because you can't just put a contract in and say, give me a summary. You have to review it, and you have to know what that contract said and what that contract's intention was before you go and review that, because ChatGPT is not fail proof,
No.
and these are high risk projects with a lot of money at stake, and we can't just leave it to a computer. So
Yeah, so many great points there. But especially, I think treating it as a partner, that's the way to go. Like this fear of we're not going to know how to think. There are going to be some people that kind of try to have it do their whole job, but it works best when it's a partner with you and there's a use case for any role. Like I know there are a lot of people who are thinking, how could this even apply for me? And you just gave such an amazing example of how it could apply. And they're seeing people maybe create like funny pictures or having it help them write emails and thinking that's not really a problem I have. But that was such a great example. I do want to pause here. We've had some more people join. So if you have any questions, comments, go ahead, drop them in the comments. And if you were wondering what Journey Corey was mentioning with Journey Alliance, she's referring to the AI training that she and Megan are both part of. If you scan this QR code in the corner, it'll take you to our webpage where you can learn more about how you could join that. Megan, I want to pose the same question to you. I know you might have hit on it a little already, but was there a specific moment, challenge, or opportunity that pushed you to look more closely at AI?
Yeah, I think just the value of solving actual real problems that I was experiencing around my job as a contract manager. That was really um, just the accessibility and the scalability was like so appealing to me to make people's lives easier because everybody hates contracts except for some of us weirdos, but like most people don't like that. And so how do we make it easier? Because I don't want to just keep working and like doing it just so that it all has to go through me or something. It's not making anything easier for anybody else if I'm a bottleneck or anything like that. And it was such a great way to make it easier for people.
Yeah. So you've mentioned kind of removing the bottleneck when it comes to contract review and things like that. Was there anything else that you were specifically hoping that AI might be able to help you with that caught your attention, Megan?
Yeah, I should clarify, in terms of like making it easier to like making contracts easier, I think Corey hit on a good clarifier there. Like you still have to review the contract. I think that there is, you know, a lot of information and knowledge you build up over years of experience. So stuff that requires some of that experience is not it's a great assistant for that and making it speeding that process up. But in terms of like getting questions answered and stuff that's in the document, making it easier to understand is valuable, but not necessarily removing all human from construction contracts. Just want to say that there. But I think for me, because I'm in kind of a weird spot where I'm working on AI
Mhm.
and like making a help contributing to making tools to make people's work better through AI. But there's
Yeah.
also like my work too, which I work at a company that is like wants to be everybody to be using AI as part of our company and like part of our jobs and part of our work. And so part of that is exploring. And so I had probably only scraped the surface and was especially because AI is so rapidly advancing that even when you get proficient at it, you still have to keep learning because there's all these changes that keep happening. And so, what wasn't possible a few weeks ago, maybe with this new release, is actually proficient. But you have to have time to explore those things. And I felt probably earlier this year that gap where I was like, there are so many more use cases, and I'm like not even in a place anymore where I'm learning and growing with the tools that are available. And so I think there was kind of this point earlier, maybe at the end of last year and earlier this year, where I was like, I'm okay, what I plateaued and now I gotta get back up on the climb. And so I really felt that. And so the Journey AI course was actually a perfect um timing because leaving me to my own devices to just play and find a use case wasn't working. I kept scheduling over that time
Yeah.
and committing to a time and to going almost like a guild, kind of like exploring that together with other people, with a guide who had taken the time to explore and move on. It was like a perfect timing. But yeah, I definitely started feeling the gap and like, oh, whoa, there's so much more, but I'm not uh I'm not growing with it.
Yeah, I definitely feel that even as someone who uses it every day, I'm still seeing someone will say something very simple. They're like, "Oh, I use ChatGPT to do this," and I'm like, Why didn't I think of that?" So it just you never stop learning with it, and it's just kind of it's really cool and how quickly it changes. Like you said, there are things that I didn't try. Like I tried when it first came out, it didn't work. I got frustrated. I moved on, and someone else mentions, "Hey, I got it to do this," and I'm like, "Oh, I need to try it again because it's updated and
Yeah.
it's moving just that quickly."
Mhm.
So that's a really good point there.
So,
So
Jordan, can I just expand on something that Megan
yeah,
said?
yeah, go
Um,
ahead.
because I think that sometimes when we think about ChatGPT, we think about, oh, it can help me review a contract. But like I was conducting a course the other day with some architects and they were wanting to learn more about estimating. And I was like, well, you guys control the contract documents, which are the foundational base of what we use for understanding the end deliverable for an estimate. So, literally being able to use your different perspective of what's needed in going in and designing a contract is one way that you can go in and use AI to be able to help manipulate the verbiage or terminology in that contract. But what Megan is saying is so true. We get in a comfort zone of, oh, I know how to use a chat GPT and AI, and I'm gonna go this direction or that direction. You really have to have an open mind. Like you have to try the unthinkable. You have to be able to say, I don't think this is possible, and then work your way into it because your personal assistant will help you find ways of doing that. But as you're doing that, it'll start bringing up new awareness of things that you can accomplish that you may not have thought of. So,
Yeah, I would say I don't think any of us are truly experts. There are those of us who know how to use it and how to learn as it's updating, but it's just you can't get comfortable because it is changing and growing so quickly. So there's a really good question here in the comments. I'm going to put this up from Rick here. In addition to ChatGPT, do any of us have any additional AI tools that we found particularly useful for construction management? So I'll start with you on that, Corey. Are there any other AI tools that have been useful for you?
Well, the funniest thing about all of it was learning that we've been using AI forever. So it's been in our scheduling software, it's in our estimating software, it's in our email automation. And that should give people in the construction industry a comfortability that they're capable of doing this. And so recognizing that first gives us the confidence to be able to move into other aspects of it. I love the IL notebook that we have in Google. It provides an opportunity to do an audio overview of papers and things that we can listen to as a podcast while we're driving to work or from or what have you. It allows for me as a teacher to be able to provide research and study guides for my students that make everything really easy all in one place. Claude is very creative, and I like to use it for storytelling books or some of the entry level things that I want to do, trying to encourage children to love the construction industry so that you can find creative ways to be able to do it. And then I do spend most of my time in ChatGPT for more formal correspondence writing, meeting minutes, daily reports, newsletters, and being able to really structure things like roles and responsibilities, job descriptions, and master plan work that we do.
Yeah, that's really good. I will say that I found ChatGPT to be a very good general tool. Claude, like you said, is of course creative, and then Notebook LLM, that is so fantastic for digesting large amounts of information because it really sounds like real people doing that podcast. So that makes it a little easier to take large swaths of information and actually like register it. Megan, same question to you. Are there any other tools that you use for your role or construction management in general?
Yeah, well, I have to say, Document Crunch for construction contracts. But in terms of sometimes like for when I do like contract educational webinars, one thing that I found helpful is Perplexity. And sometimes I don't always want to use examples like where contracts have gone bad or, for just various reasons. And so it's a really great spot to kind of do like, okay, well, what's an example that I can use to illustrate the importance or what could happen with this specific clause. So it's a good way of kind of grounding a little bit of story with actual research. And so that is, I think that's my other one, but I definitely agree with Corey and you, Jordan. Notebook LM is so nice to turn all that like paperwork into like kind of a little taster of something new that you're trying to learn.
Oh yeah, huge fan of that one as a student. But also, for work uses too. That's just my main. That's where I'm getting like the bulk information thrown at me right now. So we'll go on. Thank you for that question, Rick. That was a really good one. So I'll pose this to you first, Megan. I think we've talked around this, but how would you describe your current relationship with AI? If any of these fit, hands-on, cautious, curious, skeptical. And to go a little further with this one, how has it changed as you've experimented more?
That's a great question. So I would say my current relationship, I would say that probably in the last few weeks is where I've actually made the turn to hands-on. I wouldn't say I was like curious or skeptical the last little while, but really I was only scratching the surface. And so to be kind of in this. So I will say I really love the Journey Alliance class because it has been. It felt like it unlocked a lot more use cases for me, and I'm not just using it for summarization or reorganizing my writing. It is now like actually like I'm because part of it is too, I do want to say that there is a huge value in leveraging it for like learning new skills. And because part of this shift I've made from being a contracts manager to really understanding the content to now I have to use that knowledge in a totally different way. And that knowledge and structure for building something with the knowledge I have is so much different. And so being able to like work that out and then actually make something repeatable and like it's just this huge unlock recently because of working with the class and someone a little bit farther along. I feel like I'm finally like actually getting it into my work and it's amazing. So
Yeah, since you mentioned it, the AI training that Megan is talking about here is Journey Alliance's AI transformation method. You can scan the QR code in this corner. Am I pointing right? And it will take you to our webpage where you can learn more about it. I will say, Megan, I completely agree with you on the like. I felt like I was just scratching the surface. And Journey is when ChatGPT like first emerged. Eric, one of the partners at Journey, said, "Go play with this, figure it out." So I've been in it since it launched, but even going through the training myself kind of unlocked things, and I'll think, how can I get this to help me? So one area that, thank you, Rick, for putting the link in there. I just saw you do that. Anyway, one area that has really helped me is I've started asking it how I can manage my time better. So I'm having it help me measure the tasks that I'm doing against the goals of my role in the business as a whole. And I even was like, I really struggle with time blocking. That's not very easy for me. So it told me to do outcome oriented, focus on that rather than trying to, have a strict to-do list that you follow at these set times. Make these your outcomes that you have to move forward these weeks and give yourself a little more freedom. And that was so revolutionary to me. Like, I know that sounds a little simple, but it really has changed the way that I work recently. And that comes from having structured learning with it. So Corey, I'm going to pose this question to you as well. How would you describe your current relationship with AI and how has it changed?
So I'm in love with him. But I'm not as technical as a lot of people. So, right, I was a hands-on laborer, equipment operator, moved into construction management, and then became a teacher just based on some life situations that had that in my pathway and my plan for life. And so being curious with it is really where I have fallen into it, and really being like, what is this? Like, if everybody keeps saying it's so great, what makes it so great? And again, seeing that students were using it as an easy way out for me was a hindrance and was actually hurting my students because it definitely did not give them the bridge that they needed from school into a practical real world job. And so I've spent the majority of my time with it really trying to understand how to apply it to practical tasks. And what I've recognized is there's a lot of people in the construction industry who don't really understand their task and how repeatable that task is and how systemized that task needs to be based on the success that you've achieved in the past. And so by being able to take something like estimating, which is not my favorite thing. I love money, but I hate those numbers. And so when I'm looking at estimating, and I'm always hearing people say, you're using historical data for the cost of your project. And then I ask an estimator who estimated the project, what did you learn from the historical data on that project? And they're like, look, I don't have time to go back and get historical data. I'm bidding for future projects. So there was no real way to be able to capture the historical data the way that it needed to be done at the end of the job in order to do a comparative analysis of when it was estimated versus what happened at the end, and then be able to apply outside influences that might have impacted the effectiveness or efficiency of the productivity of that particular project. So these are the things that nobody wants to do because nobody has time to do it. We're running projects, we're trying to manage projects. And so those are the type of tasks that I want to see Chat GPT or AI of some type be able to do, because those are exactly, they take very detailed, very drilled down. They are numbers that are helpful, but they're not going to kill us or impact us if they're not 100% correct. And
Yeah.
it's something that we can give to behind the curtain that can be done while we're focused on production and productivity. So I think the first thing is really understanding your jobs, your tasks, what part of those are successfully repeatable that you can align into a system that AI can take, and then kind of um, accelerate the foundation of that for you. And then you use your construction knowledge and intelligence to be able to come back in and fill the gaps in where the AI wasn't able to pick up.
Yeah, that's such a fantastic answer. And I think you kind of hit on my next question here, which was going to be kind of specific ways that you feel AI can help a team or an individual save time or make better decisions. If you have any other examples you want to hit on, I still want to pose that question to you. But
Absolutely. I mean, there's everything that we want to be able to do, but like I said, in the change order aspect, you can come up with a very formal structure of, what does the contract say and what is the contractor saying? Please give me a comparative between the two so I know what I'm negotiating or debating in a negotiation meeting. Being able to use it for meeting minutes or daily reports, when we understand that a daily report isn't just reporting what's happening on the job site that day. It's being able to use your intellect as a construction manager of understanding what potential issues are arising based on what's happening or not happening on a job site, and how you're going to be able to defeat that before it becomes a claim dispute or issue at the end of the project. Being able to do RFIs that can align and track with other issues that are happening on the job site, so that you don't end up with an RFI early on in the project where the answer or response gets lost somewhere downstream that actually impacts another issue on the project. So there are a number of different ways that we can implement this. None of them are going to be perfect to start off with because we're all playing with this, but it's much like the lessons learned binder. Some people are really good at keeping track of past failures that they can learn from in order to be able to achieve faster success in the future. And some people have to keep relearning the same lesson over and over. So this is an incredible opportunity. It's been in other industries for many, many years, and they're taking advantage of it. And this is why their industries have been so successful. It's really time for the construction industry to be able to have an open mindset to at least practice using it where you think you can, because that initial first step is what is needed. If you get left behind, just like Megan was saying, it changes so fast, it's going to be hard to catch up. And my old mind only works so fast. So I'm super excited I got in a little bit early so that I can grow with it.
yeah, absolutely. Those are some hard-hitting examples there. Megan, I'll pose the same thing to you. Are there areas that you feel maybe people are missing that could save them time or help them make better decisions using AI?
I so much agree with Corey here. The thing is, I think part of it is you have to be able to take a step back and like figure out where what you do, what's repeatable, and what you're actually trying to solve. And so that takes a little bit of initial thought, but it is cool because you can brainstorm and work those things out with ChatGPT. um, I I do think I guess I don't know. I really just think that there's um I don't know. Blah. But I agree. All that to say, I think we agree, and there's so much sloggy work that you probably don't realize you're doing. But if you take a minute and take a step back, you can probably see a lot of applications. One example I guess I have is, my husband's still in construction, and he didn't really see a use case. He's like, I'm a small company. There's really not a lot of use cases. We have the bandwidth right now. It's not that big of a deal. And I was something totally he wanted some help on something, and so I ended up being, telling him, I'm like, hey, this is not a great use of our weekend time. Like, so you need to sign up for Chat GPT so we can like speed this up.
Yeah.
I don't want to spend my weekend doing this. So, but what he found was it was a little bit hard to get up and running. But once he actually started seeing like this, once he saw his own use case, suddenly the use cases started stacking. So I think sometimes it just takes that first step of seeing the value and like using your own work, and then it unlocks like a more
Yeah.
rapid progression.
I will say that for superintendents who think that, they're just focused on the drawings and the production of the project, when they realize that they can use this as a spell check, grammar check, and that they can actually just jot their ideas in there and Chat GPT can come out with a comprehensive paragraph that explains their ideas in a very professional manner, it illuminates confidence that they grow from in that moment, and they're unstoppable after that. I mean, they really recognize the value in it. I mean, half of these construction guys were going to be doctors, so they all scribble and use half sentences and everything else, and so they are afraid of putting an email together or a letter together. And this Chat GPT just really helps take everything that they're putting into it. It's still their minds, their intelligence, their opinion of what's going on, but it just organizes it in a way that allows it to be presentable, that can give them confidence that they've put out a good product.
Yeah. Go ahead,
Oh,
Megan. Sorry.
I was just going to jump in because I think, that another great point there too is that voice aspect of like, I don't actually have to stop or get to a computer or a laptop or, type out on my phone. I can just transcribe it. Even that, I mean, that doesn't seem like this, novel use case, but it does save a lot of time, to switch over to voice and start talking it out, and then not only transcribing it but then organizing it for you. That does take some work and some time and some thought that you can build get some time back with that.
Yeah, I will say for all of people saying, oh, AI is going to make us lazy, that part, I hate typing now. Now that I've started using and just talking to it like that, I use transcription for everything I do. Like I can't stand having to pause and type it out because obviously I type slower than I talk. But that is probably one of the best parts of ChatGPT is that you don't have to type it. It can be conversational.
Well,
We
and
have
we're talking about Chat GPT sometimes as it's the only one because it's the one we're
yeah.
the most comfortable using. But they have programs out there now where the guys can take pictures of the sites for daily reports and be able to talk about the pictures that recreate the report as they're walking the job site. So
Yeah.
so AI is so in so many different aspects is coming available that's really going to be useful to everybody on the construction sites.
Yes, thank you. That's a fantastic ad. We have a really good comment here about people fearing AI. So I want to hit on that a little bit. Did you, either of you, I'll pose it to you first, Corey, did you have any hesitations in using AI? Do you have any hesitations still about using it or any concerns, anything like that?
I really didn't. I already loved writing. I love creative writing. I feel very fulfilled by being able to come up with very adjective, creative ways of putting things together. And I guess I felt like that would be taken away from some of the things that I was doing, but actually have started learning that you're training this chat GPT as you're going through to think like you, to talk like you. And so it starts adapting to your style of things. And again, it's not going to be perfect right off the bat, but it comes pretty close sometimes. So when Construction Management Online was trying to touch on some very sensitive topics that people really don't like talking about, but are really important in the construction industry, I was able to kind of create characters that would struggle with those different situations, whether it would be racism or discrimination, age discrimination, or health and wellness and depression. Being able to have somebody that had a history and build a persona of that person, and then it comes out as their voice. And so that part of it really, again, once you start using it and you're able to build confidence in what you can do with it, you recognize that it's not stealing all of the cells out of your mind, and that you're really still very much in control.
Yeah, I will say creative writing is something that's really important to me. Creativity is. I don't feel that it can capture or will ever be able to capture the the humanity behind these kinds of things, and that's a fear that I shared with you. Is it's going to take my creativity. It all it can do is repeat and recreate, and it can mimic your voice, but it can't be you. And so you're still behind it, and that kind of alleviated that fear for me. So I very much agree with you on that thought process. Megan, how about you? Did you have any hesitations, or do you have any hesitations or concerns?
Of course, mine are all contract related, but um, so you know, I think some of the times I think that um, when people haven't gone in and started experimenting for themselves, or they approach AI with a what is the hardest, most complex thing that I have to do, and I want AI to do that, and sometimes there's this recognizing that those things that you that took you a long time to learn, and maybe there's some nuance and experience that, if a model has been trained on the internet, how does, it's like back to the days of like Wikipedia, like when it first started. It's like, well, who verified that? Where did that information come from?
Yeah.
And so starting out learning the capabilities based on something you're familiar with, but not having it try to replace the most difficult thing that's taken all that years of experience. How do we get away from I want to offload this to AI, and instead look at the stuff that you don't enjoy doing, so you can focus more on like you guys were talking about, the creative aspects, because I enjoy writing. I enjoy that too. I love wrestling with, getting the right thoughts together. But if you can't validate the outputs, like if it's something I don't like, Corey's example earlier, review this contract. Well, if you've tried AI, you can kind of see, oh, maybe that's a little too general. Maybe that's not enough information, or maybe you need to work alongside it for a use case like that. But I think when you go in and try it, so I think, instead of approaching learning with, I'm going to solve my hardest problem first, that kind of makes me nervous. But I think when people start getting into it and they learn that, it's alleviated pretty quickly. But that initial outside looking in, I'm gonna replace my lawyer with Chat GPT or something like that.
Yeah.
Which I'm like, that's where I get like, oh, please don't do that. Like,
And I
yeah.
think that is the biggest fear, is that ChatGPT is going to take my job. And
Yeah.
this is the fear that everybody is being faced with right now. And those of us using it know that that's not the truth. But if you're not using it, of course, it's going to be a fear because you're seeing how fast it can generate answers. But the quality of what you put in is a result of the quality of what's received. So your construction knowledge and experience is exactly what is needed in order to be able to get the right response. So I would say that that is probably the biggest fear that people are really worried about. And my biggest fear would be, don't wait to get in, because you need to design your career path the way you want it right now, instead of waiting for the industry to choose how they're going to implement AI. Because right now, AI should be being used in construction companies that are hiring individuals that are going to do data selection or data collection and review and analysis, who are going to be able to do historical data on their estimating, who are going to be able to create chat bots to be able to manage different aspects of construction procedures and policies. And so recognizing that this is a real occupation now that needs to come into your construction companies in order to be able to support people who are focused on doing the work out in the field, who are focused on doing the accounting and the HR and all the other jobs that we've always had. But now we need some support in allowing AI to accelerate and create more efficiency in our processes.
Yeah. Yeah. Mic drop, Corey. Yes. So, as Mark says this a lot, and I know he's not the first person to say it, and Mark, he facilitates, I would say, the AI training, which QR code up there, you can scan and go to that. But he says often that AI isn't going to take your job. It's the person using AI who is going to take your job. And I really love that call out about shape your career now around it. Take control of it now, because if you don't, it is going to get away from you. And somebody using AI is going to take your job and take the roles that maybe you want, or a company that has their team using AI is going to get ahead of your company. So that is fantastic advice there.
Yeah, and again, remembering that AI doesn't just mean ChatGPT. It means the
Right.
scheduler, it's the estimator, it's the contracts person. It's AI is going to be used in all these things. AI is also being used for the carpentry layout of the building, for superintendents trying to manage their subcontractors. So it's really being introduced in all aspects. And now that you're aware of it, you just need to be able to understand how it's going to be applied to your particular roles and responsibilities that you're doing.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Like take control of it yourself. Love that. So let me ask you, Megan, if someone in the audience were to say, this sounds interesting, but I don't have time to figure this out, what would you tell them?
That is also me. That was, even when you scratch the surface, like I said, you like, it was so easy for me to say, because there's that like unstructured time that you is required to learn the limits and stuff. And so if you don't have time, I say make time, because even I really was in the camp of, I have so much work going on, every spare hour I want back. But then finally when I committed, made a commitment to learning, with Journey, especially, making, well, now I have a group, now there's accountability. And I would say I have more, even in a few weeks, 1 hour a week, I have more than made up for what um I've more than made up for what I gave up to, kind of I slowed down to go faster. And that is my experience. Is so I guess from the other side of actually making time and prioritizing it, I have gotten that time back. So I was with you, and now I'm saying it was the right call. So that's what I would say.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I've found that any amount of time that I spend trying to figure things out is I get like compounding returns. I get more time back, just like you said. I've gotten more time back than I spent doing it. And Rick here in the comments, I think, said it very well. Dude, you don't have time to not figure it out. So I think that's perfect. Corey, I still want to pose that question to you, though. What would you say to someone who says, I don't have time to figure this out?
Yeah, I think that this is a common issue in absolutely everything in construction. We're so focused on the measure of value being production that it doesn't really matter what the production is resulting. As long as we're working, we feel like we're getting something done. And when we use the Pareto theory and principle and being able to plan out 20%, or excuse me, 80% in order to be able to get 20% higher efficiency in what we're doing, we're able to recognize that you stand back and think and plan before implementation. It allows us to be able to reduce risk and to be able to be more strategic and intentional in the way that we move forward. And this is what AI does for us. Is we're thinking, we're planning, we're strategizing, and we're identifying all of the potential risks, challenges, and contingencies necessary before implementation, before we spend money, before we take the risk of time. And I totally agree that not doing it is going to cost you. So you need to jump in, you need to try it. Everybody, it's free. So literally you jump on to open Chat GPT and you say, I hate AI, how do I start? And it will give you an answer. And as soon as you start playing with it that way, then you'll appreciate the things that you want to appreciate, and you'll continue to hate the things that you want to hate. But being able to use it and be aware of it and be exposed to it is what's going to start changing your mind.
Yeah, that's a great tip there. That's something that kind of blew me away with the AI training is just asking ChatGPT, how can you help me with this? And that's such a simple place to start, and it helps you kind of start brainstorming ideas on your own, and then you can come back and ask it even more. So to kind of close this out here before we, get to the how to contact everybody, to get people thinking, what is one thing that you haven't tried with AI, but you are interested in exploring, or you think the industry should explore? We'll pose that to you, Megan.
Ooh, let's see. What can you put the question back up? I totally did not have an immediate I haven't tried yet with AI, but are really interested in exploring. It sounds terrible, but I had a lot of things in my work that I wanted to try. And I have now. I've started trying it. And I think, but part of it is, I think, building off of what Corey said, is that I wasn't taking my my use case for Chat GPT far enough back in my process. And
Yeah.
so I think I didn't know I needed that. But I think that everybody should try that, is taking it that far back upstream into your process. How can you help me? Some of it's trash. It is. But there's sometimes that it sparks a great idea. Just yesterday that happened. I took it back farther in my process. And so I think everybody should take a stab at, how can you help me with this? Starting brainstorming with getting out of the group think earlier and figuring out how can how can I use this? How can I leverage this for this upcoming work?
Yeah, that's a really good add there. Corey, how about you? Is there anything that you haven't tried yet that you're interested in exploring or that you think the industry should?
Yeah, so two things. I'm addicted to these little babies that are doing the AI talking with the podcast. I love those, and I want to have my videos transitioned into different languages. So I want to be able to do that with our mini courses and their task specific construction things that we do on the job site, and I want to be able to translate those into different languages with AI. And then the second thing, and we're kind of getting into it right now with Journey Alliance, is how to be able to create a bot that actually is going to actually go do work for us. But we're right on the edge of being able to get these bots to talk to each other and have multiple bots being able to order other bots what to do. And so I'm really curious about that because I need somebody to clean up my email list without deleting things that I don't want deleted because I haven't opened them or read them yet, because I, at some point in my next 20 years, need to get to it. So
Yeah, I am very interested in the same thing, in the bots that can communicate with each other. There are some things that I think could probably be automated that I still do manually, but they can't be automated by me taking the input and putting it in ChatGPT. It needs to be bots that talk to each other. So waiting for it to really get to that point. But I'll go ahead and close this out here. So, Corey, how can people contact you?
well, I would love to be able to talk to anyone who wants to continue their personal growth in construction management. They can reach me on Construction Management Online, and we have our next cohort coming up June 2nd for Construction Management Essentials, which is our 12-week certification program for construction managers.
Awesome. Thank you, Corey. And Megan, how about you? How can people contact you?
Uh, I Document Crunch website, but also LinkedIn I'll add to, because if anybody wants to talk, I love to nerd out about construction contracts, and especially, how to use AI with your construction contracts. How do I get the most out of it? So definitely either one of those options.
Yeah, I love that you landed in that niche. Like, can't imagine a more perfect place for you. So same thing for me. You can contact me on LinkedIn. I'm always active there. And you can, of course, go to our website, journeyalliance.com, or you can scan this QR code in the corner if you would like to learn more about this AI training that we've been talking about throughout the event. We also do a weekly show called Journey Intelligence, where we cover the most recent news with AI and how it applies to you. So if you go to our business page, Journey Alliance, you can see the most recent episodes on there. And thank you again for joining us. Thank you to everyone who commented and made this interactive. Really appreciate that. Thank you for everyone who stayed and watched, or those who are catching the recording. And we will see you next time.
Thanks.